What we're going to mostly focus on today is the content and style management.
Hmm.
And you guys are pretty savvy. You've been through a lot of this, so stop me if you've heard it before. But managed content refers to the blog. We have current news and promotions. You can edit the category itself, or you can click on the category name to edit the entries you've got. And these are sort of samples, I guess. But as you go to edit here, you get the online editor, and you can name a lot of these, give it a link in case you want the image and the title to be linkable to something in case it's going to a particular page. The created date, you can change at will as long as you follow this format. It'll be fine. Name, location, these tend to show up as part of the byline, and an image you can actually put in. You can upload a file from right here, and that will go into the appropriate directory. You can find a file to give it an image. Where these show up is on the blog page, which we may end up having a link here that links to the blog page. It's basically index.jsp path equals blog. And so this is kind of the boilerplate version.
Now, rather than calling that the CC Distributors blog, can we call it news and events or whatever we want?
You sure can. You can call it anything you like. So news and events is a really classic way of handling it.
Perfect.
The main page tends to show a listing of the categories, and that can be changed through CSS in terms of the layout of this little section here. And then you have these blog entries themselves, which will show up if you're clicking on a particular category. Again, with CSS, that can be specialized to your needs. So that is basically the blog management. It's pretty simple. You can add a new category, you can change categories, you can remove categories, all that sort of thing. And this is just sort of sample data for you for right now. So once you get a few entries put in, then we can take another look at the sort of raw blog page and see what kind of CSS needs to be done to massage it to where you would like it, how you'd like it to look. The web page management is the pages in the site, all of the pages in the site. And as you can see, there are lots. You can edit online anything that is an HTML page. We use HTML as the standard simply because they are snippets. We tend to use HTML as the standard. It really makes no difference if it's called HTML or HTML, but HTML will pretty much tell you in this case it's a partial snippet. It's going to end up in between all of the header, footer, left margin elements. So something like about our ads, you can actually edit it from here. Or if you click on the page ID refers to how you're getting to the page. It's called the path. In this case, this page is called Pages because it's the page management page, and it's actually down here, Pages. Most of these, if it's JSP, we would prefer that you don't touch it. There's not a lot you can do with it anyway, and most of the JSP pages are in the hands of our development team, and if you need changes to be made, you can make a support ticket and say we need changes or we need something to happen with any of the JSP pages. However, the HTM pages are totally in your hands. If you click on, yeah.
Russ, is there any way that we can just make sure that the those Java pages are not editable by us? Because I wouldn't want someone that by accident, someone that we've set up to be keeping pages updated to get in those Java pages. And I don't think we need to be able to have access to it on a regular basis, since we don't have any Java programmers working for us.
Well, in that case, you just, if your people are working through the back end, you can't edit JSP pages, as you can see.
Oh, okay.
If it's an HTML page, you have the edit links, but it'll never show up for JSP pages, so you're okay.
Okay, perfect.
But I'll show you this first one about our ads. That has a link down here in your footer. And about our ads, the page ID is about our ads. This name is what shows up here as the header. The breadcrumbs are automatic, and the breadcrumbs actually are pursuant to what you put in the parent page ID. A lot of times you'll put home in there, and then the breadcrumbs will trace the path from home to your page. If you put in a page that has a path traced to it already, then it will trace that path, so you can have pages considered to be down pages of other pages, if that makes sense.
Yes.
The description is a sort of a highlighted paragraph that can show up right beneath the title on the page. So everything you're actually editing on the page is everything from here down. So you can put in, that's optional. The name is also optional, but if you don't put in a name, you're going to want to put in some kind of a meta title, because the name actually is used in the meta title on the page. The title being what shows up at the top of your browser. So as you can see, this says web page update, there's a pipe, and then CC distributors, which is kind of the standard format for all the pages. So if there is a name, it'll just pop up right there. But you can override that here. So that's the page ID, the name, the description. The content is where the page lives. We have set you up with all of the links that we could find on your footer with some sample pages. And like this one, this edit link is the same as the one that was in the previous page. We've just put in content coming soon, so you can edit it at will using this online editor.
So Russ,
yeah.
I'm going to make an interjection there. If there are some pages there that are on that list that we're going to end up deciding that we don't want, how do we delete the page and take it off the list?
That's a good question. We have the remove link. And this is one where I want you to be really careful, because do not remove any JSP pages. That's the whole purpose of that, that prompt. We're not going to have anything that removes itself on, say if your cat steps on the keyboard or the mouse. We're not going to have anything that could be removed accidentally.
Right. Good.
If you set a page from active true to active false, does that make it disappear?
Yes, it does. So you can archive your pages, and that's probably the best way of dealing with it, rather than removing it entirely. I make this false and hit update, and this page is gone. So that's probably the best way to do it, because sometimes you spend some time on a thing, months later you decide you want it back.
Right.
That's a very good question, and that's the way to do it. So back to this panel, the parent page will show you what shows up in the breadcrumbs. If you don't put something in there, like home or something like that, then if I go to About Our Ads, You'll have content coming soon and you won't have any breadcrumbs at all. So that determines the breadcrumbs is the parent page's ID. And that's the ID based on, this list of IDs. That is what gets passed through the URL. So you can also exclude pages from customers or contacts or branches or storefronts or customer types should you have a page that's a special for certain things, especially in storefront type situations. You set the active to true. The default is actually false when you start a new page, but you set the active to true. Login required is whether or not you need for your customers to log in before they see that page. Whether it's SSL or not, again, does it need to force to HTTPS?
But is there any more granular permissions than that? I mean, like, what if you had a group of customers you wanted to see a page, but everybody else, no, we don't want them to see a page?
Then I would include only a customer type.
Oh, okay.
Or I can put in customer and separate these. It's either with spaces or commas. I think it's commas. So yes, you can get pretty granular with that if you need to make it special for certain customers. That's not the kind of thing you would put a link on the site for. Might be something that you might send a promo out to certain customers or something like that.
Yeah.
SSL SEO index, pretty much that's always true. And these you don't necessarily have to change because the defaults are pretty good. That's for setting up the sitemap and for Google to be happy with it. And speaking of Google, all these others are about the Google. The meta title, you can actually override what gets put up in this meta title up here in your tab. But if it's left blank, you will get your default meta title based on the name of the page. But you can put in a meta description and meta keywords. They use the description quite plenty. It's the keywords they don't tend to use so much. But other search engines are still using keywords, so it's not a bad idea if you want to work with the SEO. Page parameters you won't need. That's usually for special instances in the development process.
Russ, while we're talking about Google, I did put in our Google Analytics tracking ID in the appropriate page in the administration. Is that all we need to do to track, start tracking page views and whatever with Google Analytics, or is there more that I need to do?
That is all you need to do.
Okay.
The page group is another one that's really for developers, as is the active elements override and inactive elements override. However, you have elements in your CC distributors theme. One of them is this left-hand menu. If I actually put left margin in the, because that's the name of this element, I'll get to elements in a moment. But if I put that in there, then this would actually disappear from that page. As far as the other elements are concerned, I wouldn't recommend removing anything else because the other elements are the footer, the header, and this little snippet here is made into an element. But you can override whether or not they are seen or not seen. And don't let this double negative confuse you. This makes them active if they're not already. This makes them inactive if they're not already. I can show you an example. On the home page, I believe we've made one active that is not considered always active. That's the Shop Now section, which on the home page appears down here, right above the footer. That's another page element, but it's only on the home page. I'll show you how to access elements a little further down in this overview. Any questions about the web page management?
Pretty straightforward so far.
Oh, there is one more thing. if you add a web page and you put in the content slash something HTM, you will actually be creating a new page. Once you hit update and you go back to that page, and then you hit edit on that new page you've created and put anything in it and hit save, it will save a whole new page for you in the content folder. So that's how new pages are created in the HTML scenario. Sometimes if you're doing web page management, what I like to do is open up a new window and open up one of these that has already been created, so I get an idea of how to set it up here. There is one other trick with web page management, and I might as well show you while I'm showing this to you now, and that is the page group. Generally, you're not going to have to worry about this. However, if you put the word maintenance in here, then this page will show even if your site is down for maintenance. It's not a bad idea for all the HTML pages so that people can at least get some content. But most of the JSP pages, if you're down for maintenance, and that's something that can happen automatically if Eclipse is down or something like that, then a maintenance tag comes up just saying this site is down for maintenance. Please check, in a few minutes. But if you pop maintenance in the page group, then a page like this will actually show you the content that's on that page instead of that little warning. So that's web page management. On your web pages, like for instance the home page, you'll see it's a JSP page, yet there's editable content on the home page. But you need to find out where that is. It's going to be in one of two places. It's going to either be in the elements within the page's theme, which I will get to, or it's going to be an include file that has been added to the JSP page. And these include files, like for instance the home slider, most of these are named pretty intuitively. Some of these are the invoice taglines that show up, the invoice notes. For the most part, we'll have you set up with all of those. But if there are minor changes you need to make, you can just go in and change a word or two, that sort of thing, like the notes in order confirm. That's when the order is being placed. You can always change that, like if you were to change your 1.5% to 2%, that's an easy fix. So that's why these are all in here. The file upload is where you can upload HTML pages if you want to, or PDFs, or items like that to the content folder. You would browse to look for it. You would and you'd hit go, and then this page will tell you upload successful. This has been uploaded to the content / whatever the name of it is. You can actually swipe that text and copy it for use in the editor if you want to access that page. Images are in the second form field here, and those are all the JPEGs, GIFs, PNGs, if you want to upload things to the images / content. So that's the images folder has a folder called content, and everything can go up in there. Any questions so far?
Can you bulk upload, or is it just one image at a time?
You can only do one image at a time. If you'd like to bulk upload, we can either work with you on that, or on your production site, you can use FTP.
Right. Okay.
Web theme management is a pretty big one. We are set up for multiple storefronts. You don't have storefronts on this particular site, so no worries. But you do have themes. The CCD theme.
Russ,
Yeah.
Russ, I think that this is something we should actually go through, but I think it is definitely our goal to have multiple storefronts moving forward. That is certainly something that we intend on implementing.
Okay. That may be something we go through later because there will be most likely be some work that we would do to help you with the look and feel of the different storefronts. If nothing changes but say the logo, then it can be a pretty push button operation. But in most cases, there are some custom changes from storefront to storefront. So we would definitely be able to work with you on that. You certainly don't want to remove any of these. I don't think it removes it from the folder, but I could be wrong about that. But in the properties, for the most part, most of this you don't want to change. But this shows you where the web elements live. There's the left margin, page body, page head, content, footer, header. All of these are it would be very damaging to mess with any of these. However, you can always work with something that has an edit on it. Your need help ordering, for instance. You click on that, and although the style is different, I think we can work on the CSS to make sure that some of the styles are pulled over from the appropriate page in this case. But you can either use the source or just use the online editor to edit these things. And you could change the phone number right here. Obviously, that's not your phone number, so that's something that would be useful. And this Greeking here, you can change to something else. That is the element that's down here on all pages. If I go back to theme management and I look at CCD's properties, you can see these are also set to true or false as a default. The one that's set to false doesn't want to show on every page. That was the Shop Now one, which does show up on the home page, which is why, and again, it's CSS that makes this, that gives it its styles. But this too can be changed from here as if needed be. For your initial setup, we usually just kind of set these things up for you, with the exception of the content pages, like about our ads and that sort of thing. Those are up to you, and you can always get us to help you with it. Web style management, you're not going to mess with. This is kind of an old holdover, and it gets overwritten by the CSS, so it's not even something you need to worry about for the time being. It's a bit archaic. However, there are still a few styles there that are basic things that are set up, like the links colors and things like that. So it's best just to ignore that one. Your sitemap XML, anytime you make changes to your sitemap or to your pages in your site, if you've added or taken away pages, I'll go ahead and click go. It's as simple as that to create an XML file for Google's happiness. Google loves to have an XML file for your sitemap. And now if I look at it, there it is. So it creates it pretty quickly, as you can see. And you would want to update it anytime you either add pages or take pages away from your site. So that's the content and style management. Any questions about this section?
No, sir.
Sounds good so far.
Nope.
Okay.